Alright all, and welcome back to a new video, and a long awaited video on the channel, back to the day by day previews. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that. It's back to the old school, me in front of the laptop and hopefully finding a couple of winners. Look, things have been pretty hectic over the last couple of months. I know I've said that on a couple of videos I've been able to get out, the anti-post Cheltenham videos, which seem to have gone down well with you guys, and also the bets themselves are in pretty good shape, those 6 bets, so if you want to go and look at those videos, please do and go and do so. But over the next couple of days, we'll be back doing the day-to-days for the Leopardstown Christmas Festival. That's what we'll be angling in on, and I think throughout the videos I'll be kind of doing all the Leopardstown races and then kind of what do I fancy across the other cards. So obviously on Stephen's Day there's plenty of other action, and I don't necessarily fancy things in the big races over in Kempton or anything like that, but I've found a couple from around the grounds that hopefully can add to the Leopardstown ones. I'm fingers crossed going to be up at Leopardstown for a couple of the days this winter. I can't wait to get back up there. Obviously I've dusted off the members 2020 badge, which will get me in, thank goodness, to these events, and they seem to be able to be accommodating 5,000 per day. So fingers crossed that we can have some good racing. There's plenty of stars on action, plenty of really good horses, and fingers crossed we can back a couple of winners in the process. That's enough rambling for now. Obviously, just the usual plugs as per the usual. Obviously, if you haven't already, go over and check out Let's Talk Racing. That's where I've been for the majority of this winter, doing the videos with Josh every week. Seemed to be going down great. We did a Christmas special which was full of all the grade ones throughout the entirety of the Christmas meetings between Kempton, between Chepstow and Leopardstown and Limerick. So plenty of action over there. It's around a 30-minute video, gets through everything. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link to the channel down below. And of course, my written articles per day are up on WhichBookie, and also I've been doing a couple of videos for them, anti-pose videos for the Christmas festival, and then obviously a couple forward towards Cheltenham. I've got a decent one with Brandy Love there, which was on this channel and on WhichBookie, 25 to 1 into 8 to 1. So fingers crossed that she can keep on improving and put herself right into that Mare's Novice Hurdle picture. But if you are interested in either of those, do go look at the description down below. Enough waffling though, on to the racing. Starting off with Leopardstown, going through the card, starting off at the 12 o'clock, the 2-mile maiden hurdle for 4-year-olds, and I am going to be keeping it pretty simple here and be backing State Man at 5 to 4. Not a type of price that I like going in on, especially in the first race, but at the same stage I've been up on Stephen's Day plenty of times in the past and not backed a winner of the first, and sometimes Mullins' horses just hack up. Classical Dream won the race, Bunko Early's won the race. It's a good race for Mullins' yard. He comes second in France over to Busselton. That was a long time ago, but at the same stage he's been given time to acclimatise, which I like, and I don't think it's that deep a race, if I'm being honest, when you look down the card. So that being said, I think State Man has every chance of being a pretty good horse here. He was entered in the Grade 1 on the 27th. He was taken out of that in favour of coming to the Maiden Hurdle, and I think probably takes a fair bit of beating at 5 to 4. The 12:35 is a race that surely Sir Gerhard will win, and he's 2 to 5. Now, I'm not going to be taking 2 to 5, obviously, and it's really what way you want to play this, because I do quite like a horse in this race, and I'm going to put him up each way, but at the same stage, if I'm there on the track, I'm going to look to potentially back him each way without the favourite as well, because I think you'll be able to get an each way price even in the without market. And it's Ollie McKieran's Meet and Greet, who won a bumper at this track last year where he beat Top Bandit, who's ended up being a pretty nice novice hurdler for Gordon Elliott. He's won 3 on the bounce. He also made a pretty good hurdling debut at Naas a couple of weeks ago when he was third behind Utrecht, only beaten 4 lengths, and that looks pretty robust form. He's 20 to 1 in the normal market, and I think that's not a bad each way price because he could run into the 3. But also without the favourite, you might still be able to get 6 or 7 to 1, I'm hoping, without the favourite. With, Ash Tree Meadow has a very good chance. He's probably most likely going to chase Sir Gerhard home. But this meet and greet has a chance of springing a surprise at a big price. And I think it's more wise, obviously, trying to side with something at a slightly bigger price than maybe going all in on Sir Gerhard. We all saw what happened to Kilcrut on his hurdling debut. I think, overall, you want to see Sir Gerhard go and do it well. But at the same stage, I wouldn't be taking those prohibitive odds. The 110, the Frank Ward Juvenile, it seems to be in Fil D'Or's hands here. He's 4 to 6. He's probably not the worst 4 to 6 shot in the world, if I'm being honest, but it's a no-bet race. I think Fil D'Or will win. If you put a gun to my head, I would say he'd win, but 4 to 6, you're not getting rich back in those sort of horses. So I'll leave you do what you want to do with that race, but I think Fil D'Or will get the job done and probably enhance his Triumph Hurdle claims. The 145, really competitive 26 runner handicap hurdle, so fantastic race to get stuck into if you really like these types of races, and I'm backing 2 in this, as I often do in these big handicaps. Both of them trained by my friend, but also a man I love to hate in Tony Martin, because I can't get his horses right sometimes, but sometimes I can get them right, and I think he's got 2 very good chances in this. One more found than the other. The one more found is Marvel Fan, 13 to 2. Maxine O'Sullivan takes £5 off, which negates him going up in the weights, having won at Gorham Park under Brian Cooper. He won at a massive price that day, but he won with bag loads in hand, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was able to back that performance up. He's 13 to 2, and even though he's joint Fav on a couple of boards, 13 to 2 is more than a working man's price, so you can back that each way, especially with a lot of firms paying 6 places. The other one is a horse that recently went over to Cheltenham at the November meeting, and it was Belgoprince, who's 20 to 1. He is the bottom weight of a mark of 97, and Peter Carberry is riding off 9 stone 12 here, so he's off an absolute featherweight, this horse, and he's got ability. He won a flat handicap over a mile 6 at Navan only a couple of starts ago, and as I say, he went over to Cheltenham for the November meeting, and the form figures will tell you he finished 9th, but he didn't jump a twig all the way round and absolutely flew up the hill. So I think he's well handicapped off 97. He does need to correct his jumping, and that is a risk, but at the same stage you're getting 20 to 1 about a horse that may well be well handicapped and well in off his hurdles mark. With that in mind, featherweight, big field handicap usually suit these Tony Martin horses, and I'm going to bag the 2 of them in this, and hopefully one of them can do the job. The 220, the big Racing Post Novices Chase, a race that I've kind of mulled over plenty of times, trying to find an in with the top 2 in the market, and I can't find one, so I'm kind of going to just stray away from them. Again, if you put a gun to my head, I think Fernie Hollow will win. I think Fernie Hollow could well win pretty impressively as well, but he's 4 to 6, not a price I want to take, especially considering in this race a couple of years ago I got my fingers heavily burnt on Lorena at not a dissimilar price. The one which I've flagged up on the Let's Talk Racing video, and I did so at 100 to 1 at the time, he's now 66 to 1 best price, is Gallant John Joe. Now you might be thinking Gallant John Joe's got no chance of winning this race, and that be that as it may. But that being said, you look back at his Leopardstown form, especially over fences, and it's very good. He came 3rd in Irish Arkle behind Notebook and Cashback. He came 2nd to Mellon in a beginner's chase, and he finished 3rd in a Grade 1 behind Commander of Fleet and Rhinestone at the Dublin Racing Festival as a novice hurdler. So he is a good horse, and he does act around Leopardstown. He's been off for a long time, which makes it even more interesting that Ollie McKiernan's deciding to just throw him into a Grade 1 on his first start, when he could have easily found himself a beginner's chase, maybe even the beginner's chase the following day on the 27th. But he seized an opportunity here, only 6 runners in the race, and if he gets round, he'll collect some decent prize money. I'm taking a speculative small play at 66 to 1 each way, just in case something happens to one of the top 2 in the market, and he might be able to sneak into a place. But my main bet here is I'm going to be backing in the without the 2 favourite markets, and you can find it with a lot of bookmakers actually, because the without markets hopeless, because Riviere de Tel's 1 to 4 in the without market, so that makes no sense. But without the 2 favourites, Gallant John Joe is 5 to 1 best price, and I think that's a really decent enough shout. Cours Sublime, usually best fresh, sometimes struggles to back it up, and the other 2 horses have had jumping difficulties, and I think Gallant John Joe actually has a chance of maybe being a little bit better than them. Grand Bernard, not for me. Zafanian has yet to complete over fences, so there's plenty of question marks there. Gallant John Joe, 5 to 1 without the 2 favourites, and a very speculative bid at 66 to 1, just in case a miracle happened. The 255, the 2 mile 1 handicap chase, often a tricky race, and not a race I have a particularly good record in, I must preface this by saying, but again, 2 at each way prices, one being Zarkareva for Henry de Bromhead, off a mark of 135, she's 9 to 1. Now the only problem with this mare is she's slightly drifting into Capucha mix territory for me, where I just keep thinking she'll have one of these handicaps in her, and she keeps just coming up short or falling or doing something a little bit silly. She finished 2nd in a pretty competitive race a start or 2 ago, and I think she's actually well handicapped here, to be honest, based off some of her graded form over fences as a novice, and also based off some of her handicap form during the summer. The likely ground at Leopardstown, there's a bit of rain around at the moment, and I live quite close to the track, so I think it is going to soften up slightly, but on the chase track it's usually going to be decent enough, and that will suit Zarkareva, who will also suit is Grange Walk for John Ryan, who's 10 to 1 with Shane Fitzgerald taking off £5. He's off a mark of 130. He's finished second in 2 of these sort of handicap chases in his last 3 starts. He finished second to Poseidon down in Cork. Poseidon was a well handicapped horse at the time, and he finished second to Dunvegan of Pat Fahey and Brian Cooper did the steering, who deserved a big handicap in the Sun and got one at the Fairy House Hatton's Grace meeting. Grange Walk has been very admirable in defeat on those occasions, and at 10 to 1 might not be the worst each way price. The 3:30 race, the Bumper, plenty of reputations on the line here, and this Facile Vega, look, it could be an absolute world beater, but also has been completely overbet just because of some things that Willie Mullins has said in the press. He's 4 to 6. It's no price for a Bumper, considering plenty of these have ability. And one that I'm just going to throw into the mix, again, it's a little bit like Gallant John Joe in terms of it's more speculative than anything, but I don't think it's really a betting race, to be honest, at the top of the market. Not one that I'm willing to, get stuck in at a short price about a Mullins horse that there's been a few decent quotes about for. Instead, Joyeux Machin is a good horse, I think, for Paul Nolan. Rob James takes the ride and takes £7 off. He's 25 to 1 best price you can get with Sky Bet, and I think that's just a little bit overpriced. I was reliably informed he was going to win a point-to-point earlier this year when falling at 2 out, and he's a horse that they do quite like, I think. He seems to do all right. I think the softer the ground, the better for him, so hopefully the hurdle course, which usually gets a little bit softer than the chase course, can take in that rain that we're getting over the next day or two and potentially go a little bit softer. He's 25 to 1. Look, I flagged up on the Let's Talk Racing video that they seem to quite like Xander Clegane. I'm not saying that this horse is going to do what Xander Clegane did, because that was obviously a once-off. It doesn't happen often, but my rule of thumb with these Paul Nolan horses is usually when they run in bumpers, they're some of their better types of horses, and I think this horse might be one of their better type of young horses. They're bringing in nice, decent stock at the moment. I think Connections, realistically, it looks a sharp bumper. If they finish 3rd or 4th, I think they'd be pretty happy with that performance, if they were to finish in the top 3 or 4. And obviously, if he was to go very close, that would be absolutely fantastic. But hopefully, Joyeux Machin can give himself a little bit of credit. And at 25 to 1, he's worth a couple of quid each way in the lucky last. Elsewhere, we've got 4 bets for you. 1 from Limerick, 2 from Market Rasen, and 1 from Down Royal. So you can't say I'm not spreading it out around the grounds. The 1 at Limerick is the 208, the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle over 2 mile 4, and it's Western Zara for Paul Nolan and Sean O'Keefe at 7 to 1 off a mark of 102. Look back at this horse's run at I think it was Clonmel. It was either Clonmel or Gorham Park. Last time out over 2 mile 4, she ran a really nice race, jumped super, a lovely grey mare. She won a Maiden Hurdle last year as well at Clonmel over 2 mile 2, beating she was going to come, I think, pretty much upsides Humble Glory at the last, and she's ended up being a listed mare for Gordon Elliott, so that doesn't look that bad form. So off 102, she should be well handicapped. As I say, she made a good reappearance behind Influential Lady of Jimmy Barco's, and I think given natural progression from that run, she should go quite close, and 7 to 1 looks a decent price. Over at Market Rasen, the 140 race, a novice's handicap chase, and a horse that obviously has been one of the banes of my existence, but also one of the legends, Bobhopeornhope at 11 to 2. An each way price, I believe, even though there's only 2 places being paid. He's actually ran 2 remarkably good races over fences, considering he hasn't jumped very well. Like, he was bang there at Sandown all the way last time out, despite not jumping a twig, and I think the headgear going on for the first time may well sharpen that up, and he's got the potential to be better than this lot. So at 11 to 2, Bobhopeornhope. And in the 250, a handicap hurdle, a horse that's really disappointed me is Chuvelo for Donald McCain. Theo Gillard takes the ride and takes £5 off a mark of 112. He won a maiden around Bangor earlier this summer before disappointing at Worcester. He hung right all the way at Worcester, and he's been given a long time off. He'll return on a likeable mark, going right-handed again, which should suit the horse, and I think there's an awful lot to like. He's 5 to 1. Again, it's probably a poor enough each way price, but I am going to back him each way. 3 places available with the majority of bookies. And the final race, the Down Royal Lucky Last, the 3:35, and maybe this is heart overhead, but I'm going to be backing the Flier Begley in this race at 4 to 1 for the Crawfords. Crawfords obviously have O'Toole earlier on in the card, and fingers crossed and to those connections, because I really hope O'Toole can run well and look like a decent horse. He's in an average enough Maiden Hurdle. You'd hope he takes a lot of beating. This horse at 4-1, he's come third to Ginto back at Navan at the back end of last season. He finished second on reappearance to Xander Clegane, beating 15 lengths at Punchestown. Look, those two horses look smart types, and hopefully the Flier Begley back in this sort of event can go very close. At 4-1, I'll be backing him to win. So overall, you've got 12 bets for you over Stevens. I know that's a lot of bets, I understand that, but at the same stage, there's an awful lot of meetings. There was 9 or 10 meetings between Britain and Ireland, so you could have come up with around 110 bets if you fancied it. In terms of the big races over in Kempton, I don't have that much of a say on them really. I hope Asterion Furlange goes close in the King George and shows himself off to be well. I would probably back Ahoy Seigneur over Brave Man's Game, but not really a betting race, and if I'm being honest, I think Epatante will win the Christmas Hurdle. Down at Limerick, the Grade 1 there, if I was pushed, maybe an each-way play on Lifetime Ambition, but I haven't deemed any of those 4 races as kind of strong enough selections to be putting into my 12, and I don't want to make it 16 or 20 bets per day because it's just ludicrously too much. So instead, the 8 bets at Leopardstown, which is the main cards and the main track that I'm going to be watching over the next couple of days, and obviously a couple of outsiders in there from Limerick, Market Rasen and Down Royal. If you did enjoy this video, and if you do enjoy obviously the daily videos, do let me know down below, and like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel because hopefully there will be more of these throughout the season, obviously ramping up towards Cheltenham come the new year. So make sure to like and subscribe, and also let me know your fancies for Stevens Day down below. I'd love to hear from all of you, and until then, please stay safe, stay lucky, have a lovely Christmas tomorrow, and obviously try and back a couple of winners on Stevens Day, and I'll see you back for the Day 2 preview on Stevens Day evening. But until then and now, stay safe, stay lucky, land a few bets, I'll see you guys very soon.